Everyone, welcome back to the channel. Rocketman checking in. Thanks guys for being here. So I went and saw the new Black Panther movie last night with my family. We went to a 9:45 p.m. showing of the movie, and I was gonna record this video last night, but I got home at 1:30 in the morning and I was just feeling pretty tired, so I just figured I would just wait until today. Plus, it would give me a little bit of time to kind of gather my thoughts, get a more complete idea of how I feel about the movie instead of just making the video right away after leaving the movie theater. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. I'm going to try to avoid spoilers as much as possible as far as stuff with the plot, because I know obviously with the movie being brand new, there's still going to be a bunch of people that haven't seen it yet. So I'll try to avoid spoilers as much as I can, but if I do end up getting into plot related spoilers and stuff, I will give a warning in advance so that way you guys know to skip past that part. So yeah, let's just jump into it. So right off the bat, I mean, first sequence of events, with the tragic passing of Chadwick Boseman, everyone knew going into it that that was going to significantly impact the direction of the movie, the way the movie was written, and all that. So the first scene in the movie really was directly addressing that aspect, trying to plot wise deal with the loss of Chadwick Boseman. Sadly, still a tough loss for many people, including myself. So the first scene in the movie, direct. I mean, like I said, they addressed that right away. Tough scene to watch. Really emotional. Not without, like I said, without getting into spoilers. Them showing the Marvel logo like they do typically towards the beginning of the movies. With no music in the background. The movie theater that I was in, you can hear a pin drop. Because it was just like solemn silence. Watching that whole sequence of events. So that was really tough to watch. You can just tell, I mean, you could just feel it in the movie theater, the emotion of everyone reacting to, obviously, the emotion of the actors and all of that on screen. So that's how the movie opens. And then following from that, you start to see the other characters, such as Okoye, Queen Ramonda, and obviously Shuri dealing with the loss of with King T'Challa. So the first little bit of the movie is sort of focused on that aspect of it, them trying to deal with that loss, trying to process it. And that's where we start to see the beginning of Shuri's character arc in this movie. I was, without, like I said, without getting into too many details, I was a really big fan of Shuri's character development in this movie specifically, with her, coming to terms with her brother's death and starting to, process all the emotions and the grief behind that, and just her development as a person following that event. It was really cool to see. But we start to see the actual development of the plot in this movie, as far as starting to develop the conflicts, some of the side characters involved, the main villain getting introduced actually relatively early in the movie for what I was anticipating. I figured it would take longer to find out, who would be on the opposing side of Shuri and everyone. But sorry, I have my laptop behind my phone, so that way I have actually decent lighting, because I can't seem to get good lighting anywhere in my apartment. Anyways, besides the point. So we start to see the development of all the plots, the different conflicts, just all the ways that all the conflicts are going to end up converging towards the end of the movie. And you start to see, just like I said earlier, just start to see the development of the character arcs and the throughout the movie. The relationship between Queen Ramonda and Shuri is a focal point. The relationship between Okoye and Shuri getting some attention in the first third of the movie. and then in the sort of middle part of the movie, you start to see, the beginnings of the conflict starting to arise. Some debates internally between some of the main characters as far as how to handle situations that were presented in front of them. Um, and then in the last part of the movie, you start to see the main conflict right before the start of the third arc, or the whatever you call it, right before the final conflict. There was a really surprising cameo. I mean, it threw me for a loop. It was cool to see, but it was a surprising cameo. If I'm sure if you've seen the movie already, you know um, which part I'm talking about. But it was cool to see that happen, and see Shuri's reaction to said person reappearing. Um, but overall, I think it was a solid movie. I wouldn't put it on like the levels of Infinity War or uh, the first Avengers, obviously, anything like that. I do personally think the first Black Panther movie was just slightly better. Um, and that's to no discredit to anyone involved in this one. The writers, directors, the acting was phenomenal. The emotional beats really hit with all the main characters in this one. Um, the villain, I don't quite think was as good as Killmonger in the first one. Just because the backstory felt serviceable but didn't feel compelling, I guess is the best way to put it. Um, I mean, you definitely understand where the villain's point of view, what they're trying to do. You understand their motives, but I just feel overall, just because of the backstory behind the character, not being the most compelling I've ever seen a villain's backstory be, it did fall just a tiny bit flat for me in the final conflict specifically. But overall, I think it was a well written movie, especially considering the circumstances with the passing of Chadwick Boseman. Um, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I will say there were a couple of side characters going into the movie. There were a couple of side characters from the first movie that I was anticipating having a bigger role in this one. That while they did have their moments throughout the movie, I didn't really expect. Or I expected them to have more of an impact on the plot, but you know the with the entire movie having to be rewritten basically after Chadwick Boseman's passing. I mean, I guess you can forgive the writers and directors for not necessarily focusing on the side characters as much. um so that was one small thing that I do wish we could have seen a couple more of the side characters be more involved. um but regardless, overall, out of 10, I would probably say this one would be, I'd say probably a solid 7.5, maybe an 8. Um, the actual quality of the composition of the movie, the action sequences were really well done. CGI was much better than the first one. Obviously the final fight between T'Challa and Killmonger in the first one is notorious for how bad its CGI is. Thankfully, it seems like the people in charge of doing CGI for this one had a much better idea of what to do with the CGI in this movie. Sorry again about my laptop going dim, but overall, like I said, well produced movie, especially given the circumstances of what they had to deal with the challenges of rewriting the movie and all that. The villain does fall a little bit flat for me in terms of being a compelling and relatable villain. Um, Shuri's character arc, I was a big fan of. It had a very the the ending of the movie and then the mid-credit roll, did have a very strong emotional, finish, like, putting the bow on the movie or whatever. It had a very strong emotional finish, I think, for Shuri. I was a big fan of how they finished the movie. There was only the one mid-credit roll, post-credit scene, I should say. There was only the one in the middle of the credits. There wasn't one at the very end like they normally, like Marvel's known for doing, doing the one in the middle and then one at the very end of the credit roll. Um, so yeah, like I said, overall, I was a big fan. Not yeah, yeah, I was a big fan of the movie. I do still slightly think that the first one was just a little bit better, but not by much. The second one is still very, very good, very well written. Um, and as far as how it stacks up against against some of the other Marvel movies, I'm referencing specifically the post Endgame, like the multiverse saga. I do think it's going to end up going down as one of the better ones. I don't know necessarily if it'll reach the same highs as the Spider-Man No Way Home, but I do think it'll end up being one of the better Marvel movies in the post Endgame saga. So that's about all I have. If you guys have already seen the movie, let me know what you think down in the comments. If you're gonna talk about plot related stuff, just out of respect for people that haven't seen the movie, be sure to leave a spoiler tag at the beginning. At the beginning of the comment, I should say. But other than that, if you guys enjoyed it, do the usual like, comment, all that stuff, subscribe. If you guys enjoy the content, if you want to see me do more stuff like this, I know that doing movie reviews and stuff, I've never really done that before. Um, but yeah, that's about all I have. So appreciate you guys sticking around, watching it, watching and listening to my thoughts on the movie. Like I said, if you guys have anything you'd like to add, be sure to let me know in the comments. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. Thanks you guys for watching, and I hope you guys have a good one.